Hello, and welcome to the HR Bytes podcast and video series, where we bring you stories of HR professionals who bring a think globally and act locally digital HR agenda to their work. Everyday people who are driving digital transformations in their organizations, data driven and future fit digital HR leaders. You can listen to us on your favorite podcast channel or watch us on YouTube. Please do follow us on social. We are on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and now on Threads. And this is the last episode of this season. And we are delighted to have my good friend, Timothy Whitley, who is also the HR tech wizard, sharing his insights here with the HR Bytes community today. Hi, Tim. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Jay. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. So, Tim, tell us a little bit about why you call yourself the HR Tech Wizard and give us a little bit of background on who you are and how you ended up in the field of HR technology.
Sure. So I had an interesting background. I studied nonprofit social work, and I did that for a while. And I worked in IT, and then kind of fell into the HR tech space. Not really a planned thing, but I discovered that it worked really well with my background. Kind of that integration between technology and people and strategy. So where I came up with the HR tech wizard is just in my experience working in HR, just seeing a lot of need within the HR space for people to understand how technology works, how it augments HR, how the data insights we can drive from our people data can help us make better decisions. And so, a lot of the HR people I've worked with have, talked about stuff that I do is magic or wizardry. And I think it's just more how my brain works, how I see systems and how they interact. So anyway, so I see, my role is really helping HR people understand what technology can do, its proper place within an HR strategy, and how it can help our employees be more engaged and understood in their work.
Wonderful. Well, we are in this huge phase where we are transforming our function every single second and minute
Yeah.
as we speak. And of course, the biggest word in our HR dictionary today is AI. And
Right.
apparently, it's the most used word according to the Collins English Dictionary this year. There you go. So how do you think we should be approaching AI in our HR function, given all of this upheaval in our workplace? And how can HR leaders prepare our function for this increased use of AI in our work?
Yeah, I think that is important. While AI is definitely a revolutionary technology, at the end of the day, it is still a technology, and I think that we see benefits of technology when it's used to solve real business problems, when it's implemented thoughtfully and mindfully to how people will use it, and so I think as we, as business leaders or HR leaders within our organization, as we think about use cases for AI, we need to remember, kind of those fundamentals of project management, change management, user design. Like it's not just um, a magical solution to business problems. It has to solve a real problem. It has to be done thoughtfully. Um, I think the big thing for us to think about in HR is not just how it will affect our function, but how it's going to affect the workforce. And you see headlines all over the place. There's a lot of speculation over, our job's going to be replaced or changed, or what's that going to look like. And I think in every organization, regardless of if people are losing their jobs or their jobs are changing, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty, a lot of questions asked. It's just like any kind of economic upheaval or time when there's a lot going on. COVID, like I think HR, we have the role of being sort of that crisis manager, bringing perspective, bringing communication, helping people understand what the future looks like. And I think being part of those conversations as leaders are talking about how does this change our workforce, we're pushing them to understand that technology is not AI is not at a place where it's just going to replace humans. It can help a lot, but we still need human intervention and interaction. And I think that's where HR can be part of those conversations. I think we need to be, from a talent management acquisition perspective, we need to be thinking about how we can be developing the skills within our organization to implement new technologies, to upskill people, people who may have been doing jobs that could be changed with AI. We need to think about, what tools are we giving them? So I think those are things where we need to keeping our pulse on the changes that are coming and how we can prepare our workforce for it. We're going to need, every organization is going to need people that are tinkerers, that like to play with technology, that like to see what it can do and try new things. So they need to be figuring out, do they have those people in the organization? Do they need to be hiring them? Do they need to be giving them the skills? I think there's a lot of opportunity. And I think for kind of the third piece of it is for HR practitioners specifically, we need to be using these tools. And that's what I've been trying to do in training and speaking to people is, it's very overwhelming. And I think especially with how much hype there is, it's like, I just don't even want to mess with it. But
Yep.
I think sorry, go ahead.
No, I said, yeah, that's the hype, right? The hype is taking over the actual
Right.
of use cases that we can promulgate in the organization
Hmm.
for AI. You've talked about how you've been using AI in your workplace. Higher
Right.
ed is a little different from HR in, say, a corporate, arena versus a small to medium business industry. So, how are you adopting and helping, be an ambassador for this use of new AI technology in your higher education workplace? Are there
Yeah,
some
I think
use cases that you can talk about?
Yeah, I think right now, it's just kind of sharing information. A lot of the use cases that I've seen that are people are using are kind of more individual. I don't see any like AI software or tools, but like people using it to help write job descriptions or doing salary range, research, things like that. So really, I think my role has been a lot of training and education. Like, hey, just getting the information out there. Here's how places that you can use it. I've been leading some classes for my internal HR team, but also for like our local HR association on, here's what's going on in the space and here's how you can use it. Here's some prompts that you can try. I think really there's somebody I followed named Ethan Mollick that talks a lot about AI in the education space, but he says, you need to spend about 10 hours with a generative AI tool, whether it's ChatGPT or Claude, to really understand how it's going to affect your work and how you can use it, what it's good at and what it's not good at. Because it's not really, the tools are so dynamic, it's hard to say, well, it's going to be really good at doing this, but not this. It's so dependent on your job and how you use it, the type of data. Obviously, if you're dealing with a lot of proprietary or private data, you're not going to be putting that out into Chat GPT, but there's a lot of things that you can do anonymously or generically that can be really helpful. So I think it's just kind of getting people to use it and see. And I'm hoping that in the future, um, they put together committees or they start looking at tools that we can specifically implement into our workflow, that I could be a part of those conversations. So
Wonderful. Yeah. So, I agree with you. It's very difficult to, put in place certain tools like these, which are
mhm.
evolving so fast. Like today,
Right.
it's going to change by the weekend.
Yeah.
And with all the
Exactly.
drama
Yeah.
that was happening with OpenAI over this
Right.
past weekend, you can't predict what's going to happen with any of these tools today. So it's
Yeah.
very difficult to put your finger on the pulse and say, yeah, this is a live thing and we can move forward with this. So when it comes to your role in the organization, you are the HRIS guru.
Right.
How do you think your role, especially with your social capital, your connections within the organization, play in generating and incubating innovation in the HR function?
Yeah, I think that where where I've been successful in this role and in previous roles that that HR has struggled with is building relationships out of HR, especially with IT. That's not always been in a lot of organizations that it's not always either there's just no relationship or it's kind of a hostile relationship with IT. But I think my role is really to bridge that gap that exists. And in HR, there's not a lot of IT or technology knowledge or understanding, and so I'm kind of the liaison or the interpreter between the two. Like I understand sort of what they need on the HR side and be able to interpret that for IT. And so I see that playing out as we look at new technologies. IT is going to be more in some ways they're going to be more cautious from a security perspective, but they're also going to be more innovative and more willing to see what's out there and try things on the frontier, whereas HR sometimes can be a little bit hesitant to try out new things. And so trying to bridge that gap I see as being really important. And I think that in general, when I talk to people in HR tech or HRIS roles, I think the most important thing you can do is build relationships, regardless of what happens with AI or automation. Like those relationships are not going to go away, even if it's building relationships with the machine in the future. Those skills are so important in our role, because we really are the kind of the liaison and the go-between for a lot of different groups.
Absolutely. No, the relationship between HR and IT and HR and marketing has always
Right.
been one for
Right. Yeah.
drama and theater. So I'm hoping it's changed. I've heard it's changed a lot in the
Mhm.
past couple of years because of the pandemic. It took the
Right.
virus to put things into perspective. We all got to
Yeah.
work together and not against each other in the organization.
Right.
Hopefully, we hear a lot from thought leaders who work with all of the big five companies or the corporate, the
Mhm.
Fortune 100, Fortune 50, Fortune 500.
Right.
And they speak about a lot of collaboration that's happening and a lot of camaraderie between HR and IT and sales and marketing. But when you talk to small and medium businesses, say 1,000 employee company,
Right.
there's still that rivalry. They
Right.
still holding on to those power,
Mhm.
whatever. I call them the hammers of Thor,
Yeah.
and releasing those lightning bolts into relationships and projects at work.
Mhm.
What's one piece of advice you have for HR professionals who are looking to adopt and learn new technology, especially, not just Gen AI, but, there's so many other tools. Gen AI has taken over our imagination this past year, but
Right.
hopefully that will die down with all the drama that's happening with all these companies.
Right.
But what is your advice for HR professionals who are looking to adopt and learn new technology?
I think the big thing that I've seen be successful and that I've been telling people is make sure you're putting the right structures in place. Technology is not a fix-all solution. It has to be placed on top of, I think of it as like a pyramid. You've got like the foundation of your culture, your mindset, and then the skills, and then the top piece is the technology, and that's what can make it work. An example is I was working on a project at a company they were replacing one applicant tracking system with a new one. And one of the things we came up with in our project meetings was this logo, system mindset, not the company's name or system. Sorry, I'm totally butchering this. system functionality, not company mentality. So a lot of times what we do when we bring in technology is we want to force it to work with how our business processes already work. And a lot of times those business processes are outdated, or they're based on paper
Mhm.
processes, or heavily bureaucratic. And I think technology allows us to strip away a lot of that bureaucracy and a lot of those cumbersome processes, but we have to be willing to change and to kind of get rid of that mindset. And so I think that's where any technology, whether it's AI, if you're not willing to change how you work, then the technology isn't going to help. In fact, it may actually make it worse because you're just doing whatever you're doing faster. um,
That the errors get, built
right.
into that
Yeah.
tech.
Right.
It's the worst way to implement technology.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, we're at the end of the year. This is the last episode of our season for the year, and everyone's talking about trends, right, for 2024.
Mhm.
So putting on your HR tech wizard hat on, what are some trends that you think are going to be big in 2024 for our function?
Yeah. Well, I don't think I need to say AI because that's, I think, understood. But I will say, and I heard this quote recently, and I'm not sure where it came from, but they said that technology tends to be overstated in the short term and understated in the long term. And I think that's very true with AI. I think we're hearing a lot of promises or suggestions of what AI can do, and I don't think our companies are ready for it. I don't think the technology is ready for it, but I think long term, it is going to change a lot of things, and we need to prepare for that. Outside of AI, I think skills based hiring and assessment is a huge need within HR. Again, especially as we move to more data dependent organizations, we need to have the people with the right skills. So figuring out tools that can help you identify skills within your organization, whether that's like a skills matrix or skills assessments or things like that. So we know, here's what the people, here's what our organization has right now. And if we're going to put this initiative in place, we're going to need these skills. And so do they match up? And if not, if there's a gap, like how do we fill that? Is it consulting, contracting, fractional type work, or do we hire people with those skills? So I think that skills assessment piece is going to be huge. And I think, there's already a lot of automation available outside of the AI space. I think that's been around for a long time. I think a lot of companies, especially as they have to operate more lean in the tech space, like finding ways that we can automate our processes. And then in preparation, I think that'll just speed up as AI becomes more reliable and more efficient. We can kind of put those AI tools into those automation spaces that already exist. So
Wonderful.
yeah.
So, what's your big, hairy, audacious goal for 2024 for your HR department?
Oh gosh, that's a good one. I think I think for my team specifically, um, efficiency and automation. So what we've been talking about is let's let's figure out everything that we do, like every process that we're a part of. And there's a lot. And I'm as we kind of peel back the layers of the onion, I'm like, oh gosh, there's like all these different things that we do, and processes that we help with. Um, so I think it's getting all those things documented, and then let's find out if there's ways that we can make it better, whether that's working with IT. Do we have internal tools already, or do we need to look for something externally? We just had a meeting about that yesterday, as some of these problems that we've had in a while, especially in our benefit space, that processes are very cumbersome or manual. How do we make those more efficient so that we don't have to have people that are spending 30 hours of their week just entering data into a system? We can have those people that are focused on answering questions or looking into new systems or processes. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, certainly. And you're not the first one to talk about this. Everyone's talking about this at the HR
Right.
Technology Conference in October, just exactly almost a month ago.
Mm.
That was the biggest topic as well.
Right.
Automation, process improvement, bringing productivity and efficiency into our
Mm.
function. Big items for 2024.
Yeah, that's a big need.
So that brings us to the question connection section of our conversation today, the funner part. I think. I also have theme music for this, so that'll play when
Oh
it
boy.
was live. So who is one person you've gained in your network in the HR tech space this past year that you think more people should know about? And I will link them in the show notes.
Oh. Well, there's a lot. There's a lot of people that I've discovered. Yeah, Jay Polaki is one, but
Oh God.
um,
Okay, that's good. Thank you. But
yeah, is that
self
teacher's
promotion.
pet?
So yeah. So I need someone who's not you and I.
No, I would say, and I've just discovered her recently. Lydia Wu. She works at Panasonic, and she does people analytics, and she does a weekly. I think puts it out weekly, but she talks a lot about um, people analytics and HR tech, and she's talked about AI. And what I just appreciate about her is she's a practitioner. She's got a lot of experience in the HR space, and she just has a fun. Um, I don't know, just her way of talking about things is lighthearted and fun, but she also talks about serious topics. She talks about DEI and inclusion, and how do we incorporate those things into our system. So she's somebody I've really enjoyed following, and hope to continue to read her writing. So
Wonderful. I will, get the information from you and put it in the show notes for our community.
yeah.
If you have a favorite HR podcast or an HR tech book that you'd like to recommend to the community, I know this is the month to buy all those books and read.
Right.
So which one would that be? A podcast or a book that you'd like to recommend?
The podcast, there's again a lot of podcasts that I listen to, but one that I really enjoy, We're Only Human by Ben Eubanks. And Ben's been around for a while. He does a lot of research now, so he has a lot of good data. But his topics are very, like the title, human focus. So how do we keep the human piece of HR? And so I really enjoy. He asks very good questions, very creative in how he does it, and he's been doing it for a long time. So
Wonderful. Do you have a favorite LinkedIn Learning or e-learning webinar series for HR tech or HR that you think we should all be listening to?
yeah, so it's not a free course, but AIHR. I forget what it's called, but it's digital. It's about digital HR. And I think I can send you the link if I can find it once we get done. But I took it, I think, last year, and it was really helpful. I think it's helpful for anybody in HR to understand, again, as we move into this technology dependent organization, our HR function is going to become more and more technology dependent. It's going to become more streamlined and process focused. And I think that their training really captures that, not only the technology piece, but again, the kind of the underlying processes and mindsets you have to have underneath to make that technology work. So
Wonderful. So, given the upheaval of all things work, and this upheaval continues, it's
right.
never ending. What do you think is one trend in the workplace that's here to stay?
This isn't something we've talked about. And I don't know if it's still a hype issue with everything going on, but I think hybrid work. I don't know about, I think remote work probably they're still going to be around in certain companies and certain industries, but for a lot of small mid-sized businesses, I think we're going to continue to see more hybrid work situations. I know that's what we have in our team. A lot of people that are coming in the office a few days a week. So it brings a lot of complexities from a technology perspective, but also from a culture perspective. How do you keep people still engaged? Keep their workplace. When you got people sharing workplaces. So there's just a lot of things that I think I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. And so just figuring out how do we manage that going forward.
Absolutely. We did a poll recently, just a LinkedIn poll. And of
Mm.
course, yeah, that's the biggest thing that's here to stay. And
Yeah,
of course, employer trust when people are working from home was a big thing,
right.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Yeah.
a topic as well. So wonderful. You enjoy giving back to the community. I see you everywhere. How do you enjoy giving back to the HR community specifically?
I've enjoyed getting to do things like this, like podcasts. I started a newsletter that I'm trying to do weekly. It's been a lot more difficult than I thought, but it's keeping me accountable. I think, like I said, I just see a huge need within HR to understand the role of technology, the role of data, and our function. And so I see that with the way my mind works and my skills. I see that as my way of giving back to provide that data, to provide practical. I think there's a lot of kind of pie in the sky type information out there that's interesting, but it's not really helpful in our day to day. So really, I try to focus on what's something that a HR person or HRIS person could use like right now in their job, and providing those practical tips and skills and things.
Wonderful. So we will link all of this in the show notes for the community. If someone wants to reach out to you, what would be the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, so I would go to my websites, my Substack. It's hrtechwizard.substack.com. So that's where I do my weekly newsletter. It's also got links to my LinkedIn. I'm on X, Twitter, sort of, and then Threads as well. So you can find me there.
Wonderful. Well, Tim, this has been a very insightful conversation for me, and I'm sure our community has learned a lot from this HR Bytes last episode of the season. Thank you so much for making the time at such short notice again to
Yeah, no
and
problem.
for our cancellation. And we really appreciate you being here today and sharing your insights with our audience. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Jay.
Absolutely.